We begin, everybody, with Cristiano Ronaldo. It's got to start right there, okay? Juventus Udinese tied 2-0. This was kind of crazy. As the lineups come out, Cristiano Ronaldo, per our Fabrizio Romano, and of course, confirmed later on by Max Allegri, benches himself, had a conversation with the manager, wanted to bench himself, wants to test out the remaining days of the transfer. I mean, what is that? All right, we'll get into that with the boys in a second. But then the game itself was obviously great. Paulo Dybala did excellent today, but Udinese kept fighting back. Then Cristiano Ronaldo comes on in the second half, everybody, scores a goal, or he thinks he scores a goal, goes insane in stoppage time, takes his shirt off, gets booked because of that. VAR comes in and says, no, sorry, no goal. But the yellow remains. 2-0 it stays. Udinese, Juventus. Jimmy Conrad, immediate thoughts on that?
My immediate thoughts is I think his yellow card should be rescinded as well. I think that's kind of crap that actually follows through. I'll start there. Secondly, with him holding himself out because he wants to test the transfer window, that is interesting. Ridiculous. I mean, it seemed like that things were put to bed. Maxi Allegri came out the day before and said everything's fine. He's going to stay with us. He's going to see out his contract. So to have that be so contrasting in terms of opinions and communication that's being put out there is very interesting. I will say, though, if we could get into some conspiracy theory, I think that he could potentially go to PSG. Hear me out, everybody. Goes to PSG. Then PSG sells Mbappe because if they don't get any money for him, he's going to leave for free at the end of the season. He goes to Real Madrid. La Liga is desperately in need of a marquee player. They don't necessarily have one. Yes, Gareth Bale used to be one, and he scored today. Good for him. Eden Hazard used to be one, but obviously the shine has worn off of him. Benzema maybe never got to be that guy. It was always Ronaldo or Messi. They lose both of those players. They don't really have somebody to market around, and obviously they're trying to grow their brand everywhere around the world, so they need that marquee player. It makes a lot of sense for them to go get Mbappe now to try to push that through. I could see La Liga also trying to make that happen. And so that's where we are. That's what I think could happen. Ronaldo and Messi on the same team. My mind will be blown. It'll melt on the floor, and I'm here for it.
Okay, there's so much, by the way, to literally what you just gave us as well, because I started thinking, to your point about where he would go. Heath, just give me, listen, first of all, who's to blame here? Ronaldo not in the starting 11 at the beginning of Serie A. There's so much hype. There's so much energy. Max Allegri is back. Juventus need to reclaim Scudetto. Oh, by the way, your best player, he wants to be on the bench. What do you make of this?
Yeah, what do you guys care? Leave the guy alone, man. Look, Neymar, Messi. Neymar and Messi, they don't. No one even knows where they are, and no one's complaining about them at PSG right now. They're just hanging out. Well, it also helps that you sign like 11 of the best players on a free and during the off season, so you could just work your way into it. And everybody knows they're focusing on Champions League. But yeah, I do think it makes a little bit of a statement. Where was Weston McKennie, by the way? Which we'll get to, but. It's problematic.
He's backing his backs, Heath Pearce, as well.
Yeah,
because
I mean, he didn't even dress, and I was looking around for an injury report or an update of why he wasn't in the lineup, and I was reading that there's been no official offers for Weston McKennie, but Ronaldo, same thing, no real official offers. I mean, where do you start with a guy like that in terms of what it's going to cost, how you're going to fit him in? I do like Jimmy's theory, whether it's a conspiracy theory or not. I wouldn't put it past two guys of the greatest generation at a certain point, sort of coming together to just disrupt the entire world in a way that no one's ever seen before. We see it in other sports in the U.S., right? That is a thing. We saw it with the Golden State Warriors, and then now that could come together. But it just seemed odd to start on the bench and then come in and then almost have this glorious moment and have it taken back. Red cards everywhere in the weekend in Serie A, by the way. But to wrap up the Ronaldo thought, it's a real disruptor, right? And you don't know where you're going to go. They don't have a ton of depth. They didn't look great. They could have lost that match, by the way. They gave up a number of chances. And Ronaldo starting on the bench, kind of self-imposed timeout. I don't know what signal that sends to the fans. I don't know what signal that sends in the locker room, or if it's under control and it was something that was planned all along by a larger group than Ronaldo and the coach.
Who's to blame, Jimmy Conrad?
There's probably a little bit of both, right? I think that both parties probably need to take some responsibility, especially if Ronaldo was asking for this or poking around, which he was. He got one of his best friends to go on TV in Spain and start a little rumor, and then his wife commented on a post by Carlo Ancelotti, like, there's something going on. And we see it from Robert Lewandowski as well. Like, all of a sudden, he's getting the itch, right? When you're not maybe talked about, or you see some other players that are making big moves, like, you know what? I've done what I'm going to do here at this club. Let me go try something else, you know? And I think he accomplished a big milestone last season on a personal level by scoring over 100 goals and being the only player in the history of the game to score 100 league goals in 3 different leagues. And that seemed like, okay, if I can't win the Champions League here, and it doesn't look like we're going to, and maybe with Maxi Allegri, who's lost in 2 Champions League finals with Juve, maybe that's as far as he can go with them. Maybe it is time to move on. And if they can maybe set up some dream team at PSG, they've got the money to do so. I don't know how they're going to wiggle around financial fair play, but they've got some excellent lawyers and accountants that know how to do that kind of stuff. And if they sell Mbappe, then I think they can offset buying Cristiano Ronaldo. And for Juve, why not get something for him now? It's very similar to the mindset that PSG has to have with Mbappe. Go get something for him now because he's going to leave for free, and you don't want to keep him. You've built your whole offense around this guy. And I thought for about the first 20 minutes, Paulo Dybala looked great. He had a goal and an assist. And then, Juan Cuadrado was coming into the side. He scored a very good goal as well. Udinese's defense, I've got some questions. But outside of that, they looked pretty bright. But to Heath's point, they did give up a lot more chances than they should have for a Maxi Allegri managed team. So they do have some areas to work on. But yeah, there's something going on here for sure. And I think it always stemmed with buying him in the first place. That went against, and Heath can speak about this, the business side of what made Juve great for so many years was how smart they were with their money. And then when they went and bought Cristiano, they went completely against what they always stood for.
Yeah, and what about this one? This post from last week, or he's shushing everybody and his ghostwriter. By the way, this wasn't him. He didn't write this. One of the head writers of The Crown wrote this. And at some point halfway through, like, he's basically saying, look, my story with Real Madrid is done. I'm like, what? Essentially saying, look, all of you are just speaking noise. And then this happens. Let me just ask quickly, Heath, and then Jimmy, I want your thoughts on it as well. Okay, what does this mean for Juventus, that locker room, that dressing room? You're ready. You're working hard, specifically new players. I don't know. What does that mean? You're getting ready for Udinese, and then suddenly, I don't know when you hear that. I guess you hear it just when the fans hear it, that Ronaldo, your teammate, is not starting as well. I mean, does that affect it, do you think? What do you think? I want both from you to really chime in on this one.
Yeah, it definitely disrupts the locker room. One, because Ronaldo is effectively a diminishing return, right? If you look at him, the wage bill he has, you are fully stuck in the situation that you're in as long as he is there. You cannot go out and buy players. You cannot bring in resources. You cannot bring in support. It's not like you see in, again, to use other sports as a reference, where players will take a pay cut to bring in more players and open up cap space because we have these salary caps in the U.S. where you can work with that. A player is just holding all of the salary and wages hostage. Not his fault. He's one of the greatest players of all time. And then you have this disruption, and it can certainly shake a locker room because, one, you don't know if he's in or he's out. You lose him, and you're like, man, we got to play something completely different. We got to play a different style of play. We got to rely on other players. Other players have to step up. We're running out of time in the transfer window. And then on the flip side, if you are going to keep him, you again have to cater to how he is going to play. Obviously, his game has evolved over the years of being a different type of a player, a smarter player that can do his 50 to 60 games a year in a different type of way. But it's a huge disruption for anybody in the locker room when a transfer window's open and your best player, who hasn't achieved the ultimate goal since he got to the club, and the club has gone against their own sort of traditions, as Jimmy mentioned, you're kind of at this breaking point, and I'm not sure which way this is going to lean.
I think it's a distraction for sure. And if anything, it's just more, and Heath and I have been in this situation before because maybe not in this. MLS obviously is a little bit different in terms of contract, disputes and all that, but there's still that, can we just get this solved already, right? We just want to move on with one way or the other. Either don't sign the guy or move him along, or let's sign him and keep him so we can kind of prepare for this upcoming season in a way where everybody's bought in. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a distraction. I wonder maybe some of those players do have some idea or some questions as to whether Cristiano was ever bought in the first place. I think he plays the part, but we always used to make a joke of, he's always playing for the name on the back of the shirt as opposed to the crest on the front.
But Jimmy, sorry to interrupt, but it's been where was this all summer? Right. Entire summer to solve this. And now we're going into closing minutes, and it's I don't know who's leveraging it or who's to blame, but it's a major Juventus are not favorites in Serie A. Even with Ronaldo, I don't think that they're the clear favorites. They had some good moments today, but there is a number of teams, like Serie A is alive again, and there are other teams that believe that the Scudetto is available for the taking. And so this is a huge disruption for a team who had won for a decade straight, and now this is another sort of distraction for them that's hard to come back from. Plus a change of manager.
Yeah, the timing to me is great. There's a great line in White Man Can't Jump when Billy Hall says to Sidney Dean, "You'd rather look good first, win second, as opposed to win first, look good second." Sometimes Ronaldo is a champion. I'm not going to take it. I don't want any Ronaldo super fans to troll me. I'm just saying.
They're coming.
I know they're coming. They're always coming. But to me, it's Heath's point. The timing of it to me is just ridiculous. Jimmy, in terms of the game itself, what about Chesney's gaff there? Was Ronaldo to blame for that one?
Oh no, but I'm sure we could find a way or a narrative or some kind of spin to make it Ronaldo's
like blame
fault.
LeBron kind of thing.
No, obviously Chesney didn't cover himself in glory with his performance today, and it's unfortunate. I think once they go up and kind of start to get control of the game, it's just about managing that. And I think there's probably a consistent theme with some of the teams that are maybe not living up to their potential. It's when you lose the momentum of a game, how can you regain it? And how do you recover that and still stay in charge? Or even if when you don't have the ball, how can you still stay in charge? And I thought that Juve maybe showed some vulnerabilities, gave up some more chances than they should have. Is it simply that De Ligt is in instead of Chiellini or whatever? I don't know if it's as simple as that, but I think that could have been a distraction, but obviously Chesney still got to do his job and be a top professional. I mean, these guys get paid enough and they know they've been around the game enough and have enough experience to know how to manage this. But yeah, unfortunate. I mean, it was, fine margins to not get that winner there with Ronaldo at the very end, but we'll see. I'm very curious. It's going to be a busy week in Juve land. Not only from a Cristiano Ronaldo perspective, but from an American perspective, what's going on with Weston McKennie? I mean, we're all kind of on pins and needles as to what his situation is going to be because he played in 46 games in all competitions last season for Juve, and for that to not be regarded high enough by Allegri is quite interesting.